This is our first robust month-long celebration of Women's History Month. We have over 30 films, feature films and short films, returning favorites and brand new films, and 6 events featuring local and national luminaries, women that are leading the charge in activism, business, empowerment, arts, and culture. Viewers can access the Women's History Month programming through our app, which is available on a number of different platforms that you can watch on your TV, on your computer, on your tablet. What this is a celebration of women in all of their diversity, looking at their successes, their victories, but also focusing on the work that still needs to be done, the challenges that are facing women today.
Welcome, good evening, good people. Welcome to the second week of Milwaukee Film's 2021 Women's History Month program presented by Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin. I am Tiana Clayton Mallett, Community Outreach Coordinator for Black Lens Milwaukee Film. Our first ever Women's History Month program recognizes that women still face barriers in seeking opportunity and equity, both in the film industry and beyond. Throughout March, we will use our new film programming to celebrate women leaders and filmmakers amplifying their stories. Visit mkefilm.org/WHM for more information and to purchase tickets and passes. Tonight's event features 2 amazing Black women who I adore. They are about to have an intimate conversation about self-care for mamas. And so we have Keisha Shanks, founder, CEO of the Mindful Mama, LLC, and Symphony Zawadi of the Melanated Mama. They're going to be talking about the problems or challenges associated with self-care. Keisha Shanks is a creative, passionate, and outspoken advocate who has spent the last 11 years dedicated to the psychosocial, economic advancement of women, children, and families. As a mother, infant, mental health consultant, and small business owner, she fully understands the many intersects and complexities of motherhood and its impact on both maternal and child health outcomes. Through her agency, the Mindful Mama LLC, she works with families by facilitating home visits to foster healthy parent-child relationships that promote familial healing of intergenerational traumas. She also offers her expertise as a consultant to community serving organizations and government agencies by developing culturally competent programming and providing racial equity training. Ms. Shanks holds a bachelor's degree in community education from UW-Milwaukee and a professional certification in infant, early childhood, and family mental health from UW-Madison. She is currently pursuing a dual master's degree in public health and clinical social work. Currently, Ms. Shanks also serves on the board of directors for the Benedict Center, which is an organization that offers direct services and advocacy for justice-involved women. Now, dope woman, right? Symphony Zawadi. Hey, girl. Symphony is a parenting and lifestyle content creator behind the brand Melanated Mama. Symphony uses her platform to share her process of guiding 4 carefree Black children within a blended family structure. Her experience as an artist and school administrator informs her parenting style. She subscribes to and advocates for conscious or gentle parenting, social emotional learning, and restorative practices. With complete vulnerability and transparency, Melanated Mama highlights all the intricacies, good, bad, or indifferent, of intentionally nurturing a Black family. She unapologetically shares what it means to be a woman first, mother, partner, and partner to her new husband. Shout out to Josh. For her, balancing mamahood, marriage, career, and her friendships is on full display for others to identify with. She uses her experience and research to not only inform her parenting style, but to also cultivate meaningful experiences, products, social media content, workshops, curriculum, and webinars for other parents looking to embark on trauma-free parenting. The mission of Melanated Mama is to take up space, share resources, and proudly display the love that keeps her Black family rooted. She can be found on all social media platforms at Melanated Mama. So y'all get ready for this amazing conversation. I will turn it over to Keisha and Symphony. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Symphony girl.
Hey, girl.
So, I mean, we have been having such rich conversation backstage in this virtual space. So I have no doubt that we are going to continue on with that here in this space. So mamahood, self-care, COVID, like it's all craziness, and there's so much going on. How have you been, keeping yourself sane this past year?
That's a really good question. And I would love if I could sit here and say it's been great. But given that we're like at a year anniversary for some people, this is like when the world shut down last year. That first couple of months was really tough for me. Like I found myself sometimes just sitting in my living room, kind of staring into space because I couldn't quite figure out like what was about to happen. I was also early in my pregnancy too. So dealing with like morning sickness and all of that was a thing. But I had so much pressure on myself to kind of keep doing what was normal for us, the school schedule and making sure, I had stuff allotted for my kids and not really taking a chance to realize that like what we were going through was traumatic. And as time went on, I realized that we at home. And so I don't need to redo school at home. Like we're going to do what works for our family. And that became important for me for the rest of the year. It was like, we're going to just move to the beat of our drum and what works for us unapologetically, because I just have to do what I need to do to make sure me and my family were straight.
Yeah, dude, like in the beginning of the pandemic, and it's funny because it was coming up in my memories today.
Yep.
Like I was at conferences and, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything shut down. And I remember just being in go mode. Like it was, at one point I was like, oh, it's fine. I don't have to leave my house, say less.
Yeah.
It felt like it was going to be a good thing. I was baking and I was cooking. Me and Belly Fruit were hanging out and we were singing and dancing and all of that. But then things slowly started to crumble for us because, you're navigating the school in a virtual space, which is something that the schools were not prepared for. Parents weren't prepared for. Thankfully, that transition has been easy for us because my child is my child. So we didn't have any challenges in that space, but navigating it all and just seeing her go through the stages of, okay, this is okay. Like, this is not okay. I want to see my friends. I want to, do all that. And it wasn't until, like I said, I was just on go mode and doing the things, for my mamas and doing things for my household. And I completely neglected myself in that time. And I didn't realize that I had neglected myself until probably just after the holidays, Christmas, New Year's. It was at that point I hit the proverbial pandemic wall, and I was like I shut down. Leave me alone. My emails were backed up. I was not answering my phone, or if I took one phone call for that day, it's like, all right, I'm done. Like I'll maybe try again tomorrow. And the reason why I asked that and I wanted to bring that part up is because, I think so many of us have been in go mode in many ways. And, when we're talking about self-care and motherhood, that is, I don't want to say it's a taboo topic, but it's something that's not really talked about the right way.
Bingo.
Talked about enough. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. We talk about self-care and it's like, oh, get a facial and get a massage and, get your nails done. And self-care is so much deeper than that.
And I want to stop you right there, because if you think about that pre-COVID, pre-shutdown, that was what was advertised to moms as like self-care. Go get your nails done. Go get your hair done. Go get a massage, all of that. But when the world shut down, all of those places where you would go to engage in that self-care also shut down. And so for me, that was what I used to believe was also self-care. Like, I just want to get away. I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to go get a massage, get a Brazilian, whatever, and then come back home. Well, when the world shut down, I had to reevaluate like what I needed in order for symphony to be good. And that was where the magic happened for me. Because once I was able to kind of figure out like what I really needed, I came up with some good stuff.
So what did you find out?
For me, my anxiety increased tenfold during this time. And so meditation has been huge for me, like really just taking a moment to like really breathe. Oftentimes you don't realize that your shoulders are stuck up, you're clenching your jaw, and that's tension and that's energy. And so just being able to kind of like, okay, I'm just going to wake up before all my kids get up, and I'm just going to do some deep breathing, put on some nice music, and just calm every part of my body, do a body scan. That has helped me tremendously. That's one of my favorite things to do. And gratitude, practicing gratitude. I had started this slowly. Whenever I would have a bad day, I would post 10 things on, social media of what I was grateful for in that day, because I wanted to change my mindset. Like, I didn't want to go home and be upset about the day, in my place of peace. Like, my home is where I want to experience peace. And so I would just 10 things I'm grateful for. And so being super intentional about doing that has really helped me too, in terms of like self-care, being able to like really shift my mind when I'm zeroed in on something that, has got me flustered.
That meditation piece is very, very important. I know some people shy away from meditation, whether it be for religious reasons or just, it's not always a comfortable thing to sit quiet and be alone with your thoughts. But meditation is really about releasing those thoughts and noticing yourself and doing a body scan and noticing the parts of your body, your fingertips, and noticing the air coming across your neck, or, those things, and feeling it and letting it blow by. And, just even eating, mindfully eating. I know that was a practice that I put into place throughout this pandemic, was just sitting and not doing anything, no phones, no music or anything, just sitting and noticing the texture.
Actually chewing your food.
Enjoying your food, chewing, taking your time, chewing your food, recognizing the textures and the flavors, and food began to taste so much better. And also you make better choices in what you eat also when you eat that way, because you're a lot more conscious of the things that you're putting into your body. But taking that quiet time, and then also a mindfulness practice that you are able to drop into yourself no matter where you are. So I tell, one of the things that I tell my clients is that, when there's a storm happening, the calmest part of the storm is right in the eye. It's like right in the middle of the storm. And there's always one spot within the eye of the storm that really nothing is going on. It's completely unaffected by everything else that's happening around it. So I try to put myself in that space, even when there's complete and absolute chaos going on around me. And that has been very helpful as well. You're saying?
No, yeah, I use meditation with my kids. Like, we started that together because of the shutdown, because I noticed that my kids needed that same ability to kind of just be present with themselves. And so one of the phrases that I use in our house sometimes when things get chaotic is like, I'm going to be the calm. So like, I know that you and your brother are just fighting, but I'm going to show you the calm in this. And so it's helped them kind of realize like, okay, I'm going to go back and take a breath and get myself together so that I can approach this situation holistically to get it solved. And I do that even at work. If I'm like, it's too much happening, I get up, I go take a walk somewhere, and I just do some breathing in and out. And that is like, has helped me a lot.
It is very, it's very helpful, but for myself with the type of work that I do, because I'm not in an office, so I'm like home visiting, and if my clients and their kids are having whoever else is in the house, if they're having a moment, and sometimes that moment is triggering for me, I have to drop in like right there and still be present with them at the same time. So that whole quieting yourself in the midst of the storm. And one of the things for myself that I realized was self-care, was really normalizing self-care in the presence of my kid and not recognizing it as something that had to happen away from my kid or away from my house.
Do you ever tell your daughter, like, I need a minute? Like, I'm gonna come all the time. Me too.
Yeah, I need a minute. And there have been times where, I mean, we don't really have that issue too much anymore because she's 14 now. But when she was younger, when she was 4 or 5 years old, and she would get to doing a lot, and a lot of energy things, she's got big feelings and she doesn't know what to do with them or where to place them. And I'll say, okay, I need a minute. Just give mommy a minute. And I would ask her, do you want to take a minute with me?
Mm-hmm.
And so we will both sit in silence, have a minute together. And sometimes, I would just hold her hands while we did that. And I would breathe and she would breathe. And then it's like, okay, how can I help you?
Yep.
And that helped both of us tremendously. And even now, having a teenager, I still do that with her, so in my house, growing up, let me go back and say this. Growing up in a Black household, there was no such thing as closing doors, right?
Yeah, you don't pay no bills.
You don't close or you don't pay no bills. You don't close no doors in my house. However, I parent my daughter differently. Mm-hmm. And so she's in her room with her door closed. I will admit that I'm not good with knocking. I don't knock. I just walk in. Okay. Yep. Because it's my house. That part is still true. But I walk in and then I'm like, hey, are you good? What are you up to? She's like, nothing. I'm just here. And if I feel like something is a little bit off, I'll say, you seem off. Is everything okay? I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Yeah. And I'll walk back out. And when she's ready to talk, she'll talk. If she doesn't say anything to me, maybe the next day I'll be like, hey, what was going on? I remember you weren't feeling, I was getting some energy from you. Is everything okay? And at that point, she'll either talk about it or she'll tell me, she'll say, I don't really want to talk about it. And then she'll still go into it anyway. Mm-hmm. But it's a matter of creating that safe space for them to, be able to sit with their own feelings, whatever those feelings are, and work through them in the way that they need to work through them. But then also letting them know that you are there and that you're available for them to work through that. So part of that is in the modeling and how you handle your own stuff as a mom. Absolutely. Making sure that you're putting yourself first and that you're putting your needs and not neglecting your needs, because your children begin to model that. For one, it establishes boundaries for how they are to approach you, and it teaches them how to establish their own boundaries.
My kids and my husband knows that I get 1 weekend a month where my name is not Mama. Don't call me Mama. This is a symphony weekend. And I am doing the things that make me happy. And before the pandemic, that sometimes meant that I got a day sitter. And I was like, you gonna watch the babies all day because I'm gonna be out here doing what I need to do for my sanity. And the kids understand that, like, oh, this is mommy's weekend. Yep. Because I need to be able to be symphony some days. And that boundary is, and also though, with saying that too, the rest of the weeks though, I do one-on-one time with my kids. So they get dates with me too. And so they know they get their one-on-one time with me. We can, work on our relationship, but then also I need time for myself.
Yes. I mean, that's critical. So how do you go about like setting boundaries? Because boundaries, that's another thing that I've recognized as self-care, especially navigating a pandemic and navigating, work and schooling at home and all of those different things. Setting boundaries, like telling people no, like, and being okay with saying no.
That's a really good question. I think that I used to be afraid to tell people no. And I wanted to, especially family, right? I wanted to make sure that there was some level of like, we in this together. So I need to calibrate with you. But during this pandemic and then after losing my mom, I had to reestablish boundaries. And right now for me, like sometimes no is a complete sentence. You don't even need a why, it's no. And I don't attach any other, like I don't owe you anything after that. And I think that that has been something that I'm still practicing, still learning, still getting better at. But I've learned to center my mental health first. And so if anything infringes on that, you're going to get a hard no every time, because if I am not whole, then I'm nothing for my family. And so if anything causes me to like where I feel like I'm going to backslide, I'm not engaging with at all.
Yeah, it is so necessary to say no. And I know sometimes, being a person that cares deeply and someone that gives so much of themselves to other people and other causes, I chronically overstep my own boundaries, and just and getting to a place where I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. I know, like even some of my friends are probably like, dude, like what's going on with you? You seem different, or you're acting funny. No, I'm not acting funny. This is just, I don't want to do this, or this isn't something that I'm committed to, so I'm just not going to do it. And please don't take it personal. Like one of my mantras right now is, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no.
Oh.
If you want me to do something, I'm like, yeah. If it's not that, it's a no. Mm-hmm. I'm not even operating in a space of maybe, or I'll think about it, because it's a no.
Yeah. And you know what? You got to get used to, I've learned that you have to get used to hearing that, like, no, right? And especially as a mom, right? And for me, being like this self-proclaimed, like gentle, conscious mom, that sometimes goes against like the norms of like Black families. And so sometimes when my kid is going through a big feeling and how I choose to de-escalate with them, some folks are like, you gonna let her? Absolutely. Yes, because that's how I'm raising my child. And so that's a clear boundary. We don't discuss the decisions that I'm making for my child, because I know what I'm doing it because I think it's in her best interest. And so that is self-care for mamas. Like if you are confident in what you're doing in terms of how you're raising your babies, you shouldn't allow anyone to question you or make you feel like what you're doing is wrong. And as a mom, sometimes that gets in our head, right? You're like, oh, should I do this? Or, such and such said that. No, because you know what's best for your baby. And you got to own up to that.
You not only do you know what is best for your child, but nobody can protect the best interests of your child better than you can. Mm-hmm. So to allow outside influences to question that is a disservice to yourself, to your role as a parent, and also to your child's upbringing. I know that's something that, and it's hard, especially with newer moms. I know when I was a new mom, there was so much that I didn't know. And there were so many things that I would lean on, parents and grandparents for. And sometimes the advice they would give is, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And, you sometimes in the beginning, you're kind of mousy in your, no, I don't think, you're a little passive aggressive about it. But it got to a point where I'm just like, no, this is your role with my child. And this is not your role with my child. So you need to stay in your place when it comes to my child. And having that conversation, it was a hard and very intense conversation that I had with my daughter's grandmother one time, I remember. But I'm like, listen, that little girl, she belongs to me. I'm responsible for her. And I want to make sure that she is raised in a way where she is going to be full, where she's going to be whole, where she's going to feel seen and respected and protected, and she has all of the autonomy in the world. So if you're doing anything that takes away from that, now I have to be Mama Bear.
Now we got a problem. Yep.
and I make no apologies for it to this day, like none.
But you know, oftentimes when you have this conversation about self-care for mamas, it feels like the way it's, you know, kind of thrown out in the universe is that it's a to-do list. Ooh, if I do this, check. I'm going to feel great after this. If I do this, I'm going to feel amazing when I get home to my family. And I think after trying all of that a couple times, like each time I used to try to reconvince myself, like, okay, this time after this massage, I'm going to come home and feel great. And then you walk in the door and it's a load of laundry and you got to do dishes. And, you know, the whole motherhood thing comes back and you feel like you're right back at the bottom. And so I think I had to shift the mindset of like how I thought about self-care for mamas in order to get to a place where like I can be unapologetic in its pursuit to really make sure that my cup is full.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you say that, because that's on the lines of, you know, as we were getting close to this event, I was thinking about self-care and what that looks like. And I know from a perinatal and infant mental health lens, there are things that self-care looks like that, you know, is not really common. And sometimes, you know, it's the boundary setting. It's one of the things that I don't think we do enough of is, you know, once we put on the mom hat, it's like all of the other hats we wear go to the wayside.
Yep.
And the person that we forget about is the woman that we are. I'm a woman first. I'm a mom second.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that I honor myself as a woman and the things that make me, me, the things that make Keisha, those things are important to me. Earlier today, I saw a woman post. She was purging her closet. She had a number of dresses and shoes and things like that she was putting up for sale. And in her comment, she said, you know, I'm a mom of 3 and I have no reason to be wearing these 6-inch heels anymore. And I'm like, why not, sis? Like, you like the 6-inch heels. I mean, obviously, if I'm not suggesting that you know, make a full course meal in those heels, but if that's a part of who you are,
absolutely,
why not embrace that part of who you are? You don't have to abandon everything that makes you you in the name of good.
And I think we know that, right? Like we know, like, dang, I shouldn't have to feel like I have to abandon who I am as a woman. But then you have all these societal things that sometimes get in your head and make you feel guilty for, like, I still want to wear heels, and I still want to carry my purse or whatever, because society is like, no, you need to do the diaper bag and you need to be a mom and, you know, mom outfits and all of, you know, whatever that is. I don't subscribe to none of that. Like, but I have fallen into that gap though, where I felt like, okay, I need to present myself as a mom. So if I wanted to wear my grill, or if I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, it was like, oh, but I'm their mama. And I had to move that way back here because, you know, I'm Symphony first. And I had to remember that, you know, Symphony like heels and she likes lipstick and she likes doing art. She likes going to art shows. And so she has to center that first as a necessity, not like something frugal on the side. It is a necessity that I still remember to take care of me.
It is very much a necessity. And you know where I get the most inspiration from for that thing there, like just being true to who I am all the time, is the black women that I know.
Mm-hmm.
The black women in particular, the ghetto ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the ghetto women will show up how they are. They don't care what you have to say. It says so much for a woman, especially for a Black woman, to be able to walk in all of her truth and be unapologetic. I mean, you look at things like you see women that may not have a lot in terms of money or, you know, things, but they have a lot when it comes down to identity. Mm-hmm. And you know, they might not have any money to pay their electric bill, but you know what? They're going to have some lashes on because lashes make them feel good. You know, their hair is going to be done because having their hair done makes them feel good. And I think that we could all take away from that. One, to stop being so judgmental. And the other thing is to be all of who you are. Having children does not change who you are. Yes, there are some things that you have to do differently, you know, as you navigate motherhood, parenthood in general. But when it's all said and done, if wearing your grill makes you happy, wear your grill to the parent teacher conference. You know, get your tattoos and get your piercings, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But the things that make you are important. I know, like with myself, there are things that I used to love to do and I did them all the time. And I realized, like, man, I haven't done any of these things in a couple years. It's like, well, why? I haven't been skating. I love to roller skate. Hadn't been skating. I couldn't tell you the last time I wore a pair of jeans.
Do you think that's because you centered motherhood first for those things? Like other priorities that are attached to being a mom came before those things?
It's centering motherhood, and then it's also a combination of just not taking the time for myself and putting into myself, because I was always doing all these other things, you know, raising my daughter, working in the community, and doing all of these other things. So things that left me emotionally tired. And I think as women, as mothers, we tend to take on a lot from other people, and we lose ourselves slowly in the process. And it's important that we get back to who we are and really be honest and upfront about who we are and what we want and what we need. Another thing, you know, to piggyback off of that, is asking for help.
Whew.
that is the one that slapped me all upside and down my head. Asking for help.
If that slapped you, then I got punched, because that has been something that I have talked about on my journey with becoming a mom. And I think every so often it resurfaces again, where there is sometimes this stigma of like shame attached to asking for help. It's like, oh no, I'm supposed to be able to handle this, right? Like I decided to become a mother and I don't have space to ask for help because you asked for this kind of energy out there.
Yep.
And so and then also pair it with like this superwoman complex, like I'm gonna put this cape on, like I'm gonna make a way out of no way. No, like there's so much more power and strength in being able to recognize a need and say, like, I don't have the capacity for that. I'm going to ask someone to help me. And if I didn't teach myself that, the universe taught me that. Because when I had my daughter, shortly after, I got COVID. And so I was out. You know, I just had a baby. I now have COVID. I needed help. Like, it wasn't that, you know, I'm trying to like push back on that idea of asking for help. It was, I needed my village to come in and support me. And I think oftentimes that is one of the greatest, thank you for saying that, because as a mama, I really subscribe to the, it takes a village. And a lot of people say that, but they don't really use the village. And if you are fortunate enough to have people around you who are able to help and support you, ask for help. And if you are in a village and you see that someone may need help, sometimes it's hard to even say what you need. Hey, I'm coming over, Keisha, what you need? Oh, I don't need nothing, but you're looking at a pile of dishes. You know what I mean? Like, hey, just can you come over and wash my dishes? Or I'm going to tell you, hey, I'm coming over. And as I look around, I'm going to just fill a gap, because that's what part of the village does. That has been life-saving for me.
It's very necessary. And one of the things that that I've realized with that is that inability to ask for help is a trauma response. When you feel like, you know, when you've had people around you that were not the most reliable, or you've had to figure things out on your own so much, or you are in a position where you just have a lot of people depending on you, very hard to ask for help, because asking for help, that's, you look weak. And like you said, it's something like, you should be able to handle this. But why should I have to handle this alone? Like, the world was not created with the intention that one person was supposed to do all of this alone. This is why it requires, in order to birth and create children, it requires male, female. It requires two people. And with that said, you're not supposed to go at parenting alone. You're not supposed to go at motherhood alone. You're not supposed to go at fatherhood alone. You're not supposed to go at parenthood alone. You need your village. And a lot of times, the village, for, it may be a reason, it may be a situation where your village just really isn't stable and isn't able to support you in the way that you need. And it's a lot of times, more often than not, it's an underutilization of your village. It's easy to say nobody's there to help me. Nobody helps me do anything, when you never tell anybody what you need.
Absolutely.
And even if you don't know what that is at the moment, just saying like, it's a lot and I really don't know. So whatever it is that you're able to do, thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Another thing that I still struggle with this one is receiving help and just receiving support in general.
Without feeling like you owe them something in exchange for that help, right? Sometimes a thank you is all you need. Yes.
Yes. Like, I will, if it's something for my mamas, my clients, I will beg, I will ask for anything. But for something for me, like, no, I don't need anything. Why are you giving a gift for what? And it's so uncomfortable for me. But being able to say, you know what, thank you, and feeling like you are deserving of support, that's a huge thing.
But
we don't talk about enough.
You don't know how much you've been a blessing to me. Like, there have been times where you would shoot a text over like, hey, Belly Fruit is getting rid of some stuff. Do your babies want it? And I'd be like, yes, because now, I can save that money for something else, or like just be a blessing. That has been like, and you've been doing that since Marley was little. Like, I remember you were like, hey, I got a whole bunch of kid hangers. You need them? And literally, for some reason, I was in the closet and I was like, dang, I do need these hangers. So like, being able to receive help is so, yes.
It's hard to do. And even first, well, thank you for that, because I didn't really look at it as that.
The dolls, the clothes, the toys, absolutely.
And actually, now that you mentioned that, we got some more vintage Barbie dolls.
Bring them here.
So we'll talk about that offline. But it's just, I wish I had more support. And I wish I had more people that, would just randomly reach out and say, you know what, hey, here, you need this. And I think that's my love language is acts of service. So
mine too.
It's a tie between acts of service and quality time. So one of the ways that I receive love is people doing things for me and supporting me. And that's one of the ways that I show love, is by supporting people and doing things for them. So that's really where it comes from more than anything. But in that, the ironic thing about it is that it's something that is uncomfortable for me to receive. Like, if you were to call me and randomly text me and say, hey, I've got, Marley's got these dolls and she's not gonna play with them anymore, and they're really good. Do you want them? I'll be like, oh no, Mira's got enough dolls. Thank you for thinking of me. Or either I'll say, oh, you know what? I don't need them, but somebody else does. I know someone else that does. But sometimes just being able to, and one of my good girlfriends actually teaches me that frequently, just allowing people to do things for you. Even if it's, we're going out to lunch, you know what? I'm going to cover the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Simple things like that. And doesn't have to be anything grand, or just little small things that you don't even think about where you need support, and just being in a position or allowing yourself to receive it and not feel compelled to reciprocate.
You know, and I think for me, what helped me kind of get over that piece was social media. Like early on in my parents, that's how Melanated Mama was born, was because I was a single mom trying to figure out how to do this, right? And my village was there for me, but I would just share like my experiences or thoughts about something, and folks would say, "Yep, I've been there, done that." Like I just started this new cloth diapering journey with this last baby of mine, and I put the word out there, and people have been really showing love and sending resources my way, which is helpful. And so that's how I use social media as a way to kind of put the ask out there, and then sometimes be on the receiving end of that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, people put more on social media, so why not put out what you need? So
that is very true. I could stand to be better at some of those things, because that is not my strong suit at all. So, I mean, I'm glad that we're even having this conversation, because it's, there are things, the wheels are turning, like things that I could stand to do better as a mom, as a parent coach, as, a mental health coach, all of those things, things that I can share with families. What other things do you think have been instrumental in you taking care of yourself?
I was just about to say, I've been really trying to get more understanding, and really trying to implement the difference between like goals and intentions, and setting weekly intentions for myself. Because goals, I will fall short every single time. Because like, mom, I got stuff going on everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've really started to dive into like intentions and really thinking about like my way of thinking, that has helped me out too. Because, when you are a parent, and especially of more than one kid, you are managing a lot. And so sometimes, for me, putting those goals out there, I lose track, plus work, everything else. But it's been really helpful for me to think about like this relationship with myself and like what I need. So like my intention as of lately, one was the boundaries. Like I really want to get better at setting those boundaries, but then also like kindness. That is like one of the things that we talk about a lot in our house, and that helps us with setting those boundaries, because there's a difference between like being kind and just being nice. You know what I mean? And so that has been super helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad that you went there when you talk about relationship, especially relationship with yourself. Relationship with yourself is also a form of self-care that we don't talk about enough. And then also how that shows up in your relationships with other people.
Yep.
So, you see and you hear a lot of things about eliminating toxicity and things like that, cutting toxic people out of your life. But we don't always recognize when we are the toxic person to ourselves.
Well, that's a hard pill to swallow.
That's a very hard pill to swallow. And not toxic in the sense that, well, let me not say that, because when you're toxic, it can be a form of abuse. But, toxic where you're not honoring your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You are not even putting your needs on the list, much less first. When you are engaging it, you engage in a lot of negative self-talk, imposter syndrome starts to take over, and you don't feel like you're good enough, or you're qualified, or you're capable, and things like that. And all of those things set in, and you might have these things that you want to do, but you talk yourself out of doing them unknowingly before you even get started to getting them done. So being intentional about the relationship that you have with yourself, and understanding how that shows up in your relationships with everyone else, especially your kids.
So for me, what that looks like is as mentioned before, if folks are just kind of joining in, I have 4 babies and they're kind of spanned across ages. So in order for me to get quiet time, it's either at bedtime or it's early in the morning when everyone is still sleeping. And so while it may seem like a sacrifice that I have to get up or stay later in order to have some time with myself, I know that that's necessary. And so I still make that commitment to myself. I'm an early bird, so I like to get up at 5 a.m. I'll get up, come downstairs, make some coffee, pull out my journal, and really just spend some time with me. And as soon as the world opens back up, I tend to do that. My goal is to do that once a month or once every quarter at a hotel away from everybody. Like that is like my intention, because I really feel like I have to continue to have conversations with myself, because we're always growing and evolving. And the person who I am January 1 will not be the same person who I am December. And so making sure that I don't lose sight of where I am with myself, because that happens sometimes. And oftentimes for me, when I do that, I have to unplug from social media. Like I have to unplug from the things that bring in all this imagery and these expectations and these, whatever about what I should show up as a Black woman, as a wife, a partner, as a mama. I got to take all that away, because I need to really quiet those voices so I can hear my own.
And that's another one. Social media, sometimes you just have to turn it off. And it's been a struggle for me, because you need to connect, and there are certain things that, social media is useful in a lot of ways.
Yes.
It is so, psychologically, it's very damaging, in many ways, because you take in so much energy from people, and you take in their stuff, whatever their stuff might be that day.
And we're comparative by nature, right? So
yeah.
You're seeing all of this and you make comparisons to like where you are and what your life is. And that eats at you, whether you can be the most confident person ever and say, I don't compare to nobody, whatever. It does. And so sometimes I have to just pull away from that so that I can be grateful for what I have, and kind of recenter myself and take care of, me.
Yeah. And energy is transferable. So you
Absolutely
tend to pick up on people's energy, and there's thought transference. That's a thing. That is a very real thing. So you read something on social media, and the next thing you know, you're going down a rabbit hole of all of these theories, thoughts, and whatnot, and it completely has the potential to alter your entire mind frame and shift your energy for the entire day. And next thing you know, you're aggressive and feeling fighty because of a post that you read at 7 a.m. It's 7 p.m. and you still like, but so it's important to really just take time away and unplug and unfollow. Like I've unfollowed people that I really like people, family, friends, but it's like, you know what? You do a little bit too much on here, or you post too much, and I just don't need to see it, because, those things interfere with the energetic space that you're in.
Curate your timeline. That's what I call that.
Yeah.
I've curated a beautiful timeline that includes Black mothers loving on their babies, Black families, Black artists, the things that bring me joy. And if you are not that, you are either unfollowed or I just don't have you on my timeline. And that has made a world of difference with my self-care, because I don't feel fighty because I'm seeing stuff that don't matter to me.
Right. Like this is not even the space that I'm in right now. And I'm sorry, but I can't relate.
Yes.
That sort of thing. So just, all of those things play into establishing a good relationship with yourself and a healthy relationship with yourself, and in setting those boundaries. You can have boundaries in cyberspace, and you can have boundaries with other family members, and you can have boundaries with your mate. Dating for the single mamas out there, you need boundaries with that as well. I know we don't have too much more time, so we can't really get into that one, but exercising those boundaries and really staying true to all that you are and making sure that you're taking some time for yourself, whatever that may be. Now, there are some mamas that may not be able to, for one reason or another, that may not be able to get time away from everything.
Mm-hmm.
So for that's where that strong relationship with self, and then also bringing your children into that routine with you, so that they know that, okay, this is mom's time alone, and they too should be allowed to have their own time alone, because then that gives you your time.
So let me say this for folks who are watching. I've only been married since August. And prior to that, for 7 years, I was a single parent to 2 babies, like for real single parent. And I was one of those single parents who, for the most part, had to figure it out and didn't get a much alone time. And when I did get alone time, for the most part, I had to pay for it. So then that becomes a whole nother topic, right? But I was queen of what we now call candle baths. And so I love me a good candle bath. Okay. And my kids have their own candle baths now as a result of kind of seeing me take that time to myself. And so there are still ways you can carve out time to take care of you, even when you can't really get away from your babies.
Yeah, it's funny because Belly Fruit is 14 now, and baths, candle baths, bath bombs, like the whole shebang. She's all about it. But these are things that she saw me doing when she was younger, and that she still sees me do. I will take that time. I might be tired, but I'm gonna go and soak in the bath, and I'm gonna play some music and burn my sage and light my candles and have all of that stuff. And so she knows that when she sees all of that stuff happening, she's like, okay, that's mom's quiet time. So I'm gonna chill out.
But it is okay to recognize that you love your babies, but that you also need time away from them. Like oftentimes you feel like there's a bit of shame around, like, I just need a break from these kids. And I say that often and unapologetically because sometimes I need a break. And so sometimes if you're new to trying to figure out what I can do as a mom, say that out loud. Just say out loud, like, I need a break from my kids. and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's very important to say, and to give especially Black mothers that permission. I don't mean to offend anyone that is watching this broadcast that is not Black, but I just want to say this. Black women are often not afforded the same consideration that mothers of other races are afforded when it comes down to motherhood and self-care, and being tired and being overstimulated or being triggered, because motherhood is very nuanced and you experience all of those things. And, we have unmet needs as well, but we are not allowed to display that. If, there's tons of motherhood blogs and pages and things like that make jokes about, not wanting to be around their kids or yelling at their kids, but
or bad mom, right? This whole bad mom.
Like, I'm such a bad mom. He. And it's cute, coming to drop your kids off at school in your pajamas. Like, I see it every day in the suburbs, and, we'll sit around with Starbucks and joke about it. But when you see Black women, especially poor Black women or poor Black women or poor women of color doing the same thing, the scrutiny is a lot different.
Yep.
Well, it's their scrutiny, whereas there was none before in the previous situation. So I just want to put that out there. As if you're wondering why I keep saying Black women or why Symphony keeps saying Black women, is because we need to know that it is okay. We need to know that it is okay, because we carry so much and we wear all these hats, and our reservations sometimes are a little bit different because we don't get the support, the societal support, and we're not always seen in those instances. So we're getting close to time. So I know. Look, you want to have the Mamas Uncut?
There you go.
After this on Instagram.
Yes, I'm here for that.
we can keep the conversation going. Let me give you some wine, child. But for those watching, please, thank you. First of all, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you were able to take some gems away from this conversation today. Thank you to Planned Parenthood for sponsoring this segment. Make sure that you log on to MilwaukeeFilm.org, so MKEFILM.org/WHM for more films on Women's History Month and for additional screenings and events. Everything will be up in there, and there's more events happening throughout the month. So this is a month-long party that's going on. And there's some other motherhood events coming up as well. So make sure you check out mkefilm.org/WHM to get the rest of that information. Follow the Mindful Mamaverse on Instagram. Follow Melanated Mama on Instagram. Follow Black Lens Milwaukee on Instagram, Milwaukee Film on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, I think we can. Does anyone have any questions? Or I think we've got maybe about 2 more minutes before we get cut off. Here. But this has been so dope. Like, I'm so excited to be able to do this with you.
Yes, we need to do this more often because it feels good to talk to somebody other than an 8-year-old. So,
right, I know. Belly Fruit is tired of seeing my face. Oh God.
See, I can't wait to live in that teenage land because right now this kiddie land I'm in.
Yeah, you know, teen land is interesting. It's interesting, especially I have an only child. It's interesting. Like yesterday, I got a whole tutorial on what is the group called? BTS. I don't know.
Girl, I think they're on Baby Shark on this end of the world.
Yeah, I'm at the stage where it's like, oh my God, he's so cute.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
All right.
So we're not going to take up any more of your time. I wish you all a good night. Thank you for coming out and sharing this space with us. Symphony, thank you so much for doing this with me. I am completely over the moon about it. So we will definitely have to do this again.
Yes, there's somebody giving you a virtual hug. So
I know, right?
But thank y'all so much. This was so much fun.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
This is our first robust month-long celebration of Women's History Month. We have over 30 films, feature films and short films, returning favorites and brand new films, and 6 events featuring local and national luminaries, women that are leading the charge in activism, business, empowerment, arts, and culture. Viewers can access the Women's History Month programming through our app, which is available on a number of different platforms that you can watch on your TV, on your computer, on your tablet. What this is a celebration of women in all of their diversity, looking at their successes, their victories, but also focusing on the work that still needs to be done, the challenges that are facing women today.